Hey guys, Ryan here. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down why I think the Mp7 and the CX9 are top tier sniper supports. The main reason I think this is because of all the sniper supports currently in the game, these two are the best suited to compete with the OTS9, which is currently the most used gun in all of Warzone. If you're interested in attachments, I'm going to be breaking down the attachments later on in this video, and I'm going to be starting off with the time to kill chart showing why these guns are so good. So first things first, I'm going to start off with the Mp7. So when looking at this time to kill chart, the main thing you really just want to focus on are those bottom two colors. That darker blue at the very bottom with the fastest time to kill is the OTS9, and then that orange right above it is the Mp7. Every other color on that graph is another top tier sniper support. That lighter blue is the colder AK, that purple is going to be the PPSH, and the green is going to be the Bullfrog. So as you can see, the Mp7 competes up close with the OTS better than almost any other sniper support in the entire game. And if you're wondering why this is so important, it's because with the OTS being the most popular gun in the entire game right now, you're going to run into it a lot. And even if you're sniping, you're going to have people often fighting you between 0 and 10 meters. And the Mp7 is going to give you outright the best chance to compete. And that's why I think it's a top tier sniper support. So on the background now is going to be a list of the attachments. I'm going to break those down just a little bit. First, I'm going to go into the cons and the pros. So outright to me, the biggest drawback of the Mp7 is going to be its mobility. Now, it's not that it's really that bad. In fact, it's better than the CX9. But unfortunately, if you compare this gun to a lot of the colder SMGs, it's just so much slower and just feels a good bit more sluggish. The other big problem with the gun is it has kind of mediocre limb damage. It's not terrible, it's on par with a lot of SMGs I had listed on the time to kill chart, but having said that, its time to kill will drop significantly if you're not hitting chest and headshots. I also just want to say guys, before I go any further, if you do enjoy this video, you don't have to like, you don't have to subscribe, but it really does help my channel, and I'm getting really close to 500 subs, and I just want to say thank you for that. But let's get back into it. I want to talk about this mobility thing one more time, and it's going to relate to the attachments. If you're looking at the attachments list, you're going to see I have the no stock option listed in the very bottom there. And to me, the reason I have this is because it can really help address the mobility issues, but it comes at the cost of a good bit of recoil control. So that's where it's not necessarily a linear decision. You have to decide what you want to prioritize. Do you want to prioritize gunfights between 10 and 25 meters, or do you want to prioritize gunfights between 0 and 10 meters? As the footage shows in the background, when you have the no stock attachment, you have way more recoil, and that's going to be a key thing that needs to factor into your decision. Another thing to consider is when you're running that 5mm laser on the Mp7, you're going to have insane hipfire accuracy, and that's something you need to really be taking advantage of. So let's wrap up my opinion on the Mp7. Its time to kill puts it almost on par with the OTS up close. It has great damage range, it has alright mobility, it has good recoil control, it has just a good feel overall, and I just think it's a top tier sniper support when you really look at the stats, especially when you consider how well this thing competes against the OTS. That's the main thing I'm going to harp on with this video, because you have to realize guys, the vast majority of people you're going to run into out there are going to be running that OTS. It's not going to be everyone, but the fact that it's the most used gun in all of Warzone right now really speaks for how good that gun is, and it's something you have to be aware of. So when you're choosing a sniper support, you need to be choosing an SMG that can actually compete against the OTS up close. And that's why I'd really recommend the Mp7 and the CX9. So the CX9 is almost equal to the Mp7 in terms of close range damage, but what it does have is it trades off higher damage range for less mobility. So to me, just to start off right off the rip, if you are a more slower player, if you are a more defensive player, I would instantly start leaning towards the CX9. If you are a more aggressive player, if you like to push people, if you rely on jump shots and good movement to get kills, I would then focus on the Mp7. But the reason why, if you're a more defensive player, I'd focus on the CX9, because it has insane damage range, it has great hipfire accuracy, and it's just a great gun overall. I'm going to pull up a time to kill chart to show you how close the CX9 is to the OTS in terms of time to kill, but I also want to talk about the differences between the Mp7 and the CX9. So in that orange, you have the OTS, in that light blue, you have the Mp7, and in the purple, you have the CX9. So one of the things that's going to clearly stand out is that the CX9 has insane damage range compared to the Mp7 and the OTS. It's not that the Mp7 has that bad of damage range, but what it has a really big issue with is once you hit that first damage drop off, the damage falls off considerably, whereas with the CX9, the damage really maintains really well after the first damage drop off. But what you can also see is the Mp7 kills a little quicker than the CX9 up close. It's a little more mobile than the CX9, but they both are more than viable enough to compete with the OTS up close. And that's the main strength that these guns offer, is these guys can compete with the OTS up close, even if they are a little slower mobility wise, even if they aren't as good within 0 to 10 meters, they are more than viable enough to compete. And not only that, they're also really good up to 12 and 15 meters. And that's another main strength with the CX9 and the Mp7. But really, as I said before, the CX9 is more for defensive players. If you're someone who's often aimed down sight, waiting for people to push into you, that's going to be the main strength of this gun. And that's the other thing with the attachments with this gun. Now, I mainly use the monolithic suppressor, the 5 milliwatt laser, the 50 round mags. I use the CX9 tack grip, which I have put as stippled grip on that little attachment card I had. And then I top it off with an operator foregrip. But don't be afraid to change around some attachments to get a little better feel between 10 and 25 meters. If you want to take off that stippled grip tape equivalent and put on something that gives you more aim stability or gives you something that's just a little better at range, do it. If you want to change that operator foregrip for a commando foregrip, do it. Because the main strength of this gun is going to be its damage at range. So if you want to highlight that strength, go for it, because that's going to be good for you as a player and just good overall. But now I want to talk about why I don't have the Modern Warfare AUG on this list. So if you use the attachment for the 5.56 rounds on the Modern Warfare AUG, you get a really, really insane gun with a really high time to kill. This thing beats the OTS up close. It beats every SMG, every AR I had on this list. It just outright, hands down, beats it in terms of raw time to kill. But on the flip side, this gun has pretty bad mobility. Its recoil can be kind of iffy to control, and it has a pretty slow rate of fire, so that means if you miss 1 or 2 shots, your time to kill is going to go through the roof, so you have to have way better accuracy with this gun than other guns. So having said all of this, I think that Modern Warfare AUG is more than viable enough. If you like the gun, if you enjoy using it, I would just use it. It can more than hang in the current meta, as you can see based on the time to kill, and if you can hit your shots with it, it's going to be amazing. I would recommend for people though to primarily run it in solo duos. Take off the stippled grip tape, put on a 30 round mags instead of the 50 round mags, and run this sleight of hand perk, and it's going to be much better in terms of mobility and overall feel. But that's why I don't want to put it on the list before the CX9 and Mp7. I feel like this thing primarily has its strengths built in solos and duos, and I feel like it's a little weaker in trios and quads, albeit still viable. I just don't think it's as good as the CX9 or the Mp7 really looking at it in a vacuum. I just wanted to give it a quick shout out though, because it is a good gun, it does deserve to be mentioned, and if you really like it, I would certainly use it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, you don't have to like, you don't have to subscribe. As I mentioned before, I'm encroaching on 500 subscribers, and that's absolutely insane to me. I just want to say thank you for that, and I hope with Vanguard we can take this beyond. Hope you guys enjoy this video, hope you have a good day, hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and if you're not from America, I hope you had a good Thursday. It's been Ryan. Peace.